The conversation that a lot of us have been having here at WKYC with our friends, with our Facebook friends, is my kids are home. Maybe they haven't gone back to school yet because of COVID protocols and following the holidays and all of those things. And we are all watching what's unfolding together as a family.
Yes. Yes.
How do you talk to your kids about what's happening?
It's an excellent question, and I think it continues the theme of this year, just unimaginable things happening in real time that affect all of us simultaneously. And I think that's a rare thing, as a parent, that it's affecting you as much as your teenagers and children and family members. So I guess my first thing always is to take a deep breath and breathe, because I think centering yourself and literally just catching yourself and saying, wow, and giving yourself a chance to pause really helps sort of ground you in not just what I need to be thinking in terms of having this conversation, but from a parenting end and for the kids, what they're seeing and watching. Because as much as the kids are seeing and watching TV and footage and all the stuff that's coming in, kids, they're watching you, and they're watching the look on your face and the look in your eyes. And that's where they're looking to say, are we okay? The rest of this is scary, and the rest of this, can come at you. But what they're watching you to say, is my world still all right? And so the idea of, I'm taking a deep breath. Is it scary? Yes. Wow, this is big. Like acknowledging it, validating it. I think it's very important not to Pollyanna. Oh, it's fine. Turn that off. Don't dismiss it. I think especially in this day and age, kids are so bright. They are so aware, keenly aware of what's going on. Don't dismiss it. But once you've validated, yes, this is unusual and this is big. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. What do you see? What do you hear? You maybe ask questions. What's the scariest thing for you? What's the first thing you're thinking when you see this? I know what I was thinking, as a grown-up. What are you thinking as a kid? So a lot of it is not just what you say to them, but starting to pull for dialogue right away. And that way you're able to hear what their thoughts are, because especially with younger kids, oh my heavens, all the things going through their head that we never know. And so our mistake sometimes is we make assumptions about what they want to hear, or we make assumptions about what they need to know, or we should tell them, and we could be way off base. So asking and saying, what's the thing that you noticed first or most, or does this worry you? And some of them would be like, well, it's messing up something else. So you get a sense of like, that's so big. Or yeah, what about this? What about that? Then they guide the conversation, and you're really speaking to them, not just in their terms of what's relevant to them, but age appropriately. And your child, the kids who really are more surface. They don't want the details, just the facts. And the ones who are going to, if you give them facts, they're going to be like, Mom, that's not enough. Dad, please, but what about this? But what about this? Be patient, listen. Like those are the big parts of just starting with, like, let's set the tone and let's have a dialogue about it. And to the best of your ability, speak honestly, in terms of what you're seeing too, and saying, this is highly unusual. Shall I keep going, or do you want to let you answer?
No, that's
so
great. I mean, there's so much of what you said there. I feel like we have to unpack it little by little. But yes, I think for a lot of parents, maybe the first instinct is to shield their children from everything. We want to protect our kids. I love that you say, in this sense, you have to be real with them, because they might be picking up on something if you go that route.
Yes. And it's so important that they believe your truth and your honesty, that you're going to say that to them. And again, back to this year, it's been a year of things where you can only protect them from so much, and a day of social media, TV aside, friends talking, Instagrams, they're hearing everything. And so if they say something to you and it's not consistent with what they're hearing, you don't ever want them not to trust that they can come to you with anything, and you're going to give them your truth. This is how I see it. This is, our family, this is what I see is, and no matter how you guide the discussion, is you really are speaking from a place of sincerity, so that you don't lose them, or that they stop coming to you because they think, well, Mom's just going to tell me, it doesn't affect you, or you're too young to worry about it, or it'll be fine. They don't want to hear that. They really want to hear you say, what do we need to talk about? You tell me, as you're seeing this.
And even at a young age, it sounds like your advice would be to parents, again, to kind of talk to them. I like letting the child set the tone of the conversation, or bring their concerns out, or what they're noticing out.
Yes, for, even 4 or 5, people think, oh, they don't pay attention. They pay attention to everything. And again, sometimes they're reading the room. They're reading, you, other family members, phone calls you're getting. They're overhearing things. Mom, what's wrong? Why is it different? Why are the people on TV upset? So even the youngest ones don't get it. And again, the mistake we make sometimes is we try to answer things. That's not what they're asking. You don't have to give them the details of why they're upset. You could say, people are angry. There are some people there at the Capitol, and then use it as a chance to talk about history and our democracy and be proud of these things. But to say some people are mad, when I think of kids, younger ones, brothers and sisters fight, grown-ups fight, we have differences of opinion. The playground is people are upset about some things, and some of them really are really angry, and they're down there, letting folks know. I'm not saying, and you can say, this is a little tricky, but I don't agree with how they're doing it. What do we always say? Don't be aggressive, is don't pick fights, is who are your helpers? There's always a way to have differences of opinion and still at the same time respect each other and value each other. And I think that's what people are trying to figure out. But right now, these people are very mad. And right now they're just sort of thinking that way. And then I shift quickly, and especially for younger kids who really need the security piece, to who are your helpers? Is the people are okay. I would talk about this Capitol Police. They are highly trained, specially trained. They are the best at protecting and taking care of the Capitol, our government, the people in our government. They are taking care of the people, on the grounds. And so you assure the kids that that's their job, and they're going to do amazing to try to keep people calm. They'll be strong if they have to, but they really want to make sure everybody's safe and keep people safe, because then you're really going to a kid's dialogue, and that is, who are the helpers? Who would you go to if something happens on the playground? Who is it that you would go to seek out? Who's the folks that you know? So you just start speaking their dialogue.
Yeah, I think back to Mr. Rogers. That was one of his big pieces of advice, and
Yes, that's right.
in these hard times, to look for the helpers there on the ground. And it certainly seems like you could see why that would give all of us some peace at this point.
Yes.
It seems like one other thing that you mentioned, I wanted to return to. You could kind of shift this conversation back into some of your values. Use it as an example of things that you've already talked about in other situations.
Yes, absolutely. And again, and I actually, unfortunately, would connect it, because I think it's going to tap into, for a lot of kids, in a world that is ever changing in a way that none of us have ever experienced. Literally, their little heads, and teenage heads and every heads are just blowing up with this too. We're starting 2021 with more upheaval and this turbulence. They may ask, this has never happened before, has it? And to say, there's a lot of times where we probably don't know in our country that people have been really upset, and they came on grounds and, they did these things. You don't hear about it, but we should study some history lessons and learn more about that. I don't know if it's gone this far. We can explore it. So you can turn it into our history, but it is part about we as a country. And again, I think of it as brothers and sisters. We all value the same thing. We are one big country that sometimes just has very different opinions. And when we get heated about it, a small group sometimes takes it too far. You know who those people are, and you can say that to the kids. Who are the ones in the neighborhood who always, take it too far? And then what happens? They get in trouble. They're grounded. Or they don't get in trouble enough. Whatever they're thought. And who are the ones who are the peacemakers? Who are the ones who come in? And who's the one who always says something to you that makes you feel like, well, yeah, you're right. I think a huge message is to listen. It's important that we listen to each other. And so these people really, obviously, they're trying to be heard. I don't know, this is the way that we would do it. It's not how we teach you. It's not what we would want. But, listen and respect, and maybe we'll understand more why they're so upset. But for right now, people need to be calm. This isn't how you handle disagreements and problems. And that's the same for our family. And if you want to bring faith into it, if you're a faith-based family and you want to say, we're being watched out for. And also, we're in a world that really respects the United States and democracy. And they're watching this and thinking, wow, even this great country still has issues. Sometimes times where they get really upset, and we don't always handle things well, right? There's going to be apologies that are going to have to be made. There's going to be people who are going to have there will be regrets, people who wake up tomorrow and are sorry for maybe how they behaved. So this is how we learn.
I'm sure a lot of your job is counseling parents, is being there for them as well, even though you're a child psychologist, as we talked about.
I learned that early on. It's the adults.
You have to kind of calm the parental anxiety down as well. And there's so much of that just about the word, the future. As you said, here we are, we've just started a new year. As we look to 2021, whether that's on the pandemic front or the political front, there's so much uncertainty. Just from that high level view, what do you say to parents right now to keep themselves in check and to keep reining the anxiety in as we step into some unknown territory?
Well, and I guess what I would say is if you believe this and if you can, I think what would be wonderful to say is kids are going to ask, are we okay? Are we going to be okay? We as our family and us, are they going to come to our town? Is this going to, and if you can say we will, this is hard. This is a struggle. And if you can say, I believe we will. And if that's a place of faith, or I certainly hope we will, like this is different than usual. This is bigger, but then I trust that the people in charge, will talk to each other's sides and they'll come together. Maybe this is what had to happen for two sides that have been fighting for a lot this year. You guys know that, you've been hearing all the fighting with the stuff. Maybe this is what it'll take for them to come together and realize, what, our country is much more important as a whole, and maybe they'll come together and actually find a way. So if you can speak to those ideas of, I believe it'll be okay, I believe we'll sort it out. I certainly hope and pray that people will be okay and safe along the way and it won't get any worse. Then you can turn it back to them. What would you like to do? What do you think we could do to help? Because whether they want to write a letter, if they want to say something special, think of something tonight. What are the things that don't change for us today? Sometimes that helps to root them in, but tonight, so what are we going to have for dinner? Because this big thing's going on in the world, but well, maybe we want to have a treat. Like maybe tonight we need popcorn. This is a popcorn night, or usually we don't do ice cream during the weekdays. But tonight I think there will be hot fudge because again, that's that kid-friendly, like that they breathe, and the fact that you smile and laugh and say, what do we need to do tonight? Do you need a little extra, time before bed? Do you need a bubble bath? Like what do you need? And it gives a chance then for them to tell you again what they need to be soothed. And you may say, I think I need to too. Because usually, I'm sort of the same thing as, or do we need to get on the treadmill? Or do we need to go out even though it's cold and walk the dog around the block just to breathe and to say we're here and we're okay? And, please come to me with questions. Please, let's keep talking about this. You're going to hear a lot about this in school and history. This is big.
Dr. Gerak, thank you so much. I think that those are some really great pointers for families out there.